Hello and welcome to a special episode of Girls on Deck. This week we're going to be talking NBA Finals. And here with me to talk about it is Kennedy Collins. How are you today?
I'm doing pretty well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited. This is a little new for us, but we're so excited and we're so eager to talk about this because it's been an exciting finals for the Eastern and Western Conference.
Definitely. I treat the NBA Finals like Christmas. I take the week off and just really dive into them, so I really love this time of year.
Absolutely. I think, it's one of my favorite, as far as sports finals go, I think it's one of my favorites to watch because it's always so intense. There's so much excitement around it, so definitely.
Yeah.
Now I want to dive right in with the Lakers versus Nuggets Game 6 on Saturday. What are your thoughts on that?
I think what we really saw is that the Lakers are here for a reason. They're really showing us every skill set that they have. We saw the LeBron James and Anthony Davis combined for 65, and 38 of those points are LeBron's. So we know why they're here, and we really just have to start by saying congrats to the Nuggets for making it this far.
Yeah,
and just
absolutely.
playing as well as they did. But for the Lakers, we know why they're here, and we can really see that they are going to be a really good contender in the finals.
Absolutely. And I think for the Nuggets, they went 2 7-game series right before the Lakers. So I think they were tired, and it's the Lakers. You know what I mean? They already had the disadvantage going against the Lakers, and at that point, they were just exhausted. So I think they gave their best effort, but it wasn't going to be – no one was shocked that the Lakers won.
Definitely not. But at the same time, I think Michael Malone and his squad are just doing so well because they're a deep roster now, and they have a lot of youth. So we're really excited to see what they're going to do in the future and just how they're going to develop certain players. So hats off to the Nuggets.
Yes, absolutely. Now going into the Heat versus Celtics game, the Celtics are the better team. No one expected the Heat to take this one, and we took it in, six games. So what do you think about that one?
I think with this, we are seeing, I've always spoken about it, just the consistency of Miami. And Eric Spoelstra is a great coach, a future Hall of Fame coach, hopefully. Yes. But we really are seeing that the Heat are competitive, that they are a very gritty team. So for them to really exploit some things with the Celtics and just take advantage of maybe some miscues on defense or just converting off of turnovers and just pushing that pace, I think it really puts them in a great position for the Lakers also because we see that they can match their tempo. And then, of course, Bam had a phenomenal performance with his career high 32. We saw Tyler Hero sprout out in this series too. So we know exactly what each of these players on the Heat can do. We know they have a phenomenal organization. So we are really excited to see what the Heat are going to do this series.
Absolutely. And I think going back, the Heat were playing more like a team. They saw every opportunity they could take against the Celtics, and they took it. So overall, that's what got them in the end, and I think that could help them against the Lakers. It's the fact that they're a strong team with, older players, younger players, and they came together, really.
And I think it's really great that you mentioned that because Jimmy Butler is really enjoying playing with the Heat.
Yes.
I think coming from the Timberwolves and then switching conferences 3 times in the last 3 years, we saw Jimmy Butler was having a lot of headlines around just being a superstar and learning how to just be humbled by an organization. So I think when the only headline you see is that Jimmy Butler has a coffee business and he's selling $20 cups of coffee, you're off to a really good start. So I think with the Heat, we're really going to see some big leadership, and I'm excited to see what players really step up for the Heat.
Yeah, and I think that's something always that the Heat has always kind of had is that player that is really personable and really brings in an audience, and I think Jimmy Butler is that, and he's really just adapted to the team as a whole. He's best friends with Tyler Hero. The other night he wore his high school jersey after the game. He just really takes it on, and he really just became a part of the Heat in such a short time. So I think that has also benefited them greatly.
Definitely. And also having Udonis Haslem on the bench, who was there when he won the championships with LeBron. So he's been through this, and he is really just grounding these players because young players like Tyler Hero, they can get caught up in the fame and they can get caught up in numbers. So I think having that veteran that's not really playing on the court but still grounding you off the court is so crucial for them.
Absolutely, yeah, because, LeBron leads the Lakers in that sense. He's a veteran player, so I think it's awesome that the Heat have Udonis Haslem to do the same for them.
Definitely, and for LeBron, he has to win.
Yes.
He came here for a reason. Last year, of course, the Lakers didn't make the playoffs, so we knew that LeBron was here to win a championship. It's always been his goal to win. So this is the year, adding Anthony Davis, adding some other pieces, so I think that LeBron knows what is expected of him. He knows what needs to be done to win, and we're just going to have to see what Frank Vogel can come up with to pretty much outcoach Eric Spoelstra and how the Lakers are going to compete with the Heat.
Definitely, yeah. And I think the sport to note that this is the first time in the NBA ever where two teams that didn't make the finals the conference finals last year have made it all the way now. So it's pretty cool. They're not like poor teams in the general, like you said, the key to a consistent team, but it's cool to see that, it's something new.
Definitely. And it's really good for the Lakers organization, too, because the last time the Lakers were in the finals, it was 2010.
Yes.
Phil Jackson was the coach, Kobe Bryant was playing, and Ron Artest was not Metta World Peace. So I think it's definitely just showing, it's definitely good to see the Lakers back in the finals and just to really put on that legacy for Kobe Bryant and
Absolutely.
To bring another championship, hopefully, to the Lakers organization.
And I was there for that game in 2010. I was in California at the time, and I remember we were at a restaurant it was Game 7, I believe it went to. And it was just, it was amazing. I will never forget that moment. The crowd went crazy when the Lakers won. It was absolutely insane. So
it's always a thrilling experience to watch Kobe Bryant play.
Yes, and rest in peace. And I think that's something the Lakers are really taking with them, too, into the finals, is doing it for Kobe. So it's really important. But coming up next, we're going to be talking with Ross Bernstein about the NBA Finals. Stay tuned.
Hey everyone, I hope you're enjoying today's episode on Hitting the Field Network. On my show, Take Me Out to the Podcast, we're bringing you the latest in MLB news and some incredible interviews with some incredible people, including Bobby from Outta Here Baseball, Bailey from Foolish Baseball, Dawson Wright, Alec Palmer from Momentum, and so many more. Be sure to tune in to Take Me Out to the Podcast every Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern, only on HTFN.
And we're back with our NBA Finals preview show with Ross Bernstein. Ross, how are you today?
I'm great, really great, especially because the Heat won last night. But, I'm excited for some basketball. Obviously, it's the NBA Finals. No better time of the year.
Of course. How are you feeling about the Heat win? I want to hear all your excitement.
Oh, I was losing it. I was jumping around the house. I was jumping up and down. I was doing some of these around the house. Overall, a great night. It was a little tense towards the end, but I knew we had it. I knew we were going to close them out.
Yeah, no, it was an intense game, but that's always the best. So we're going to get right into it, Kennedy.
So with Miami, we were seeing that they were playing that zone defense with the Celtics series, and we saw in the last game that they really kind of perfected that zone. So how effective do you think that the zone is going to be with the Lakers players?
I honestly, in my opinion, I think the Lakers could pick apart that 2-3 defense. I mean, the best way to pick apart a 2-3 defense is to find the gaps and to go to the top of the key, right? A good foul line mid-range shooter that's a big man. Who do they have? The best in the league at that. They have Anthony Davis. And with a floor general like LeBron or Rondo in at any given time, they should be able to easily pick apart that defense. I don't know how much the Heat will run it. I'm sure we'll try it in the first game, see how it works. But once you get a guy in the middle of the gaps or on the top of the key, it's pretty easy picking. I don't know why the Celtics couldn't figure it out. It's kind of a shame on Brad Stevens' part, in all honesty. We should try it. It might put a little more pressure on them to knock down shots, which is not their strong suit. But, we'll see. When you have a player with the IQ of a LeBron or Rondo, it's hard. It's hard to run a zone against that.
But do you think with them playing small ball and having Bam play man, which would probably put him on Dwight Howard realistically since they've been starting him, do you think that's going to make it a little bit more difficult for them to guard the paint on defense?
Bam's going to have a big challenge against a bunch of different bigs. You're going to have JaVale. You're going to have Dwight. You're going to have Anthony Davis. Bam's going to really be a really big key to this series, right? If they run a small ball, they could run Morris at the 5, right? The problem with the Lakers is they're a little more versatile, especially with the bigs, than Boston was. Boston, who's their big? They have Tyus and Cantor. Cantor couldn't guard me in the paint. It's not as hard of a matchup, right?
You speak highly of yourself, Ross.
Different. You have 3 legitimate big men that are really good, and you have the best in the league, Anthony Davis. But like you said, I think Bam's going to be a big key, right? He could guard 3 through 5 if need be, and being able to come out. But when we run the zone, he's more of a traditional 5. You know what I mean? The way we run zone is weird because we don't have our guards up top. We have our forwards up top. We have our athletic guys because we have a lot of length. You put a Daniel Jones, John Jr., you put a Iguodala, you put a Crowder. We have a lot of options, right? We will see how we face against these bigs, but I'm not going to lie to you, I am worried. We haven't faced a lot of bigs this playoffs.
Yeah, as a Heat fan myself, I think if we don't have Bam, we're not making the run that we need to make. So Bam's going to be our star guy.
For sure. Jimmy Butler was saying, too, that the Heat like being down. They like playing those tough fourth quarters, and they like having that deficit. So for the Heat, with a team like the Lakers, who are obviously going to go on their runs, do you think that they are in a position where they can get down and then win in a fourth quarter, or do they have to keep the games close in order to have a chance in this series?
I think they're going to have to keep it close. LeBron James is a different animal. He's arguably the greatest player of all time, easily top 5 greatest player of all time. You can't get behind. It's a killer instinct. It's a different level. You're not playing against a young team like Boston where you could afford that, right? Because compared to Boston, we are the veteran team, right? Although we don't have, I guess, playoff experience with Butler, guys like Butler and that, we're still an older team. But against the Lakers, you're playing against seasoned vets that have seen – I mean, LeBron's been in 9 finals. Like, he's not gonna let you just come back, right? I think we need to play tough from the first quarter to fourth. If you fall asleep for a quarter, it's over. Obviously, basketball is a game of runs. They're gonna go up and down, up and down. It is what it is. But if you give up a whole quarter, especially coming out of the halftime, and give them a third quarter like we would do with the Celtics, and then try to come back, I don't think it's gonna fare very well for us, honestly.
And what do you think, like, LeBron's going to be seeing the team where he won 2 titles with in the finals? Like, what do you think that's going to be like for him?
I think Eric Spoelstra's gonna have something up his sleeve. I'm hoping that the fact that obviously he coached him for so many years, 5-6 years, it's hopefully have some intel. LeBron's such a smart player. I don't know. Like, I'm sure he's gonna adapt every game plan. LeBron remembers plays from like 10 years ago. Like, oh yeah, I remember when I made that pass. He was cutting baseline. I did this and that. Like, it's a different animal, right? But I hope that maybe mentally that gets in his head a little. Because what the great thing about this series for the Heat, the few advantage we have is we have 0 to lose. If we lose this, who cares? Honestly, like we should have not been here in the first place. We got, I wouldn't say lucky, but no one predicted us. LeBron is in this for championships. LeBron has won championships to this year. He's 3-7. That's not a good class to be in. No. 3-6 is not good. 3-7, it's tough. So I'm hoping that will get on LeBron's head. Also going against his old team. We need every advantage we can get. So we'll see.
I think it's interesting that you mentioned that the Heat weren't supposed to be here because, coming into the bubble, we said that, any team really has a shot because right now we're really focusing on basketball. So what do the Heat need in order to be productive in this series aside from stars like Goran Dragic and Jimmy Butler producing?
Well, yeah, like you said, Butler needs to be a superstar for us. I think he needs to take that step. I mean, obviously he is our leader, but we need superstar numbers, right? Sometimes they give us a 15-point game, rally us and do it. I think Bam, like we said, is going to be a big key. Right, Anthony Davis is the best big man in this league, but Bam Adebayo is an up-and-coming star, and he can move. He's very mobile. He's not – a lot of big have issues with Anthony Davis because Anthony Davis could come out to three-point line. Bigs can't keep up with him. He's essentially running a 3 at that point. He moves like a 3. Bam could stay with him. We need really good performances for Bam, and we need our shooters to knock down shots. I think it's as simple as that. I'm pretty sure Jimmy Butler said, I could be wrong, but he said we need to play perfect in order to beat this team, and it's not wrong. We need Duncan Robinson. We need Tyler Hero. We need Jay Crowder. We need those 3 guys specifically. They got to be shooting at a 50% clip for us to have a shot, right? We are not supposed to win this series. They have the 2 best players, right? We don't really have a superstar. This is one of the few teams that, and I can think of in recent history, we don't really have the guy. We don't have the guy, but we win by committee. So we need people to knock down shots, and if Bam Adebayo could just slow down Anthony Davis a little and just put it all on LeBron, put all the pressure on LeBron, which I'm not the best feeling that that's the guy we have the pressure on, but it is what it is. I think we have a much better shot. I think that's what we need.
Absolutely, yeah. And now switching to a Lakers perspective, I know this is hard for you, Ross, but between LeBron and Anthony Davis, who do you think is going to be more valuable for the Lakers?
I'll never say LeBron is not the most valuable guy on your team. For the simple fact, I don't think Anthony Davis could be the number 1 as far as the leader and as far as maybe even statistics. LeBron is the driving force, right? We love Anthony Davis. You always will be second fiddle to LeBron. You have to be. Maybe statistically you might want to he might take over 1 game, Anthony Davis, right? There's always going to be the game where he's going to drop 40 or something like that. I could see that happening easily. It's LeBron James. This is LeBron James's team. This is LeBron James' organization now. He runs the team. He's the coach, the GM, the owner, whatever you want. He is it. It's LeBron James because he knows if he loses, it is another scratch on his legacy. But 4-6 is you're getting close to 500 at least in your finals record. This is his year. He's been in every year except for last, which he was injured. Like, we're even going to count it. LeBron James, this is on you, and he knows that. So I'm sure he's excited for the challenge.
Yes, and with Anthony Davis, of course, he has a lot of incentive too, coming from the Pelicans and wanting to compete for a championship with the Lakers. He has a lot that he wants to work for too. So, what do you think the Heat need to do in order to stop him, and what do the Lakers have to do in order to continue to push him to perform at his best?
Yeah, if we run that zone defense, I think Anthony Davis is going to average 40 points a game. I just have to be honest. Get the ball at the top of the key. It's a knockdown shot. He's not going to miss those, and they are going to beat the zone defense. If we run man, we're going to have to put Bam on him. At the end of the day, Anthony Davis is going to get his. He's still a superstar player, top 5, top 10 player in this league easily. What Anthony Davis needs to do is be aggressive. Although I said he is the second fiddle to LeBron, he needs to play as if he is the guy. Because on most teams in the league, he is supposed to be the guy. I think he needs to go out there and just dominate and not be fearful. And I think LeBron's going to put that charges back, because I don't think LeBron's scared of this moment at all. He's been in this moment since he was 16. This is nothing new to him. He's been in 9 finals. He's been the man since he was 16. He's going to put that charge in the back of players like Anthony Davis and their other role players. And Rajon Rondo also is a massive key, because he is a champion also that has a massive basketball IQ. I think Anthony Davis needs to be aggressive. It's as simple as that. He has all the skill in the world. The Heat are going to probably throw a couple of different people at him. I'm sure Bam's going to get a shot. Iguodala might get a shot if they run a small ball. Crowder's going to get a shot. They're going to throw everything at him, because they know if they can stop one of the two, LeBron or AD, they have a much better shot. And you have a much better shot at stopping AD than you do with LeBron. That's just a fact.
We'll be praying for the Heat.
Definitely. And I think I agree with that. I think Anthony Davis is going to perform. He wants it. He wants his first title. And the Heat as well. They're the underdog team, and they know that, and they want to win. So I think it's going to be a very intense series and very interesting to watch in that sense.
Oh, 100%. This Heat team is one of the more entertaining teams I've seen in Heat history. I've been watching since I was a kid. We are just a bunch of dogs. We just play very hard. We play as a committee. We don't deserve to be here. And if you just look at our roster, and I just put it up on the board, like, no way this goes to the finals. You're not going to beat Giannis. You're not going to beat the Celtics with all this young talent. Like, you're not supposed to. But we're here because we're tougher than every other team in the East and every other team in the West. So this is going to be a great series, because it's all the pressures on Lakers. I'm chilling. If the Heat lose, I know we will. Hey, we made it to the finals.
There's no pressure for us. We're chilling.
I'll be mad, but not that mad. So this is going to be a great series. I'm excited.
I'm excited too.
Yes, definitely. Well, thank you so much for talking with us, Ross. You gave us a lot of great insight, and stay tuned.
I have a very special guest, Mr. Mike Golick Jr. Let me tell you, this is one of the nicest guys I have met so far in this industry. So thank you so much for coming and talking to me. I really appreciate it.
Hey, listen, smart move. I am not immune to flattery, so buttering me up on the way in is the absolute right way to do this. You're learning already.
That was the goal. I had it in my notes.
And we're back with our final thoughts for today. And we have to start this out with some pretty big news for women in sports. Doris Burke will be the first woman to ever call an NBA Finals. And I know for both of us wanting to go into sports broadcasting, it's amazing to hear. It's like, it is possible. So what do you think on that, Kennedy?
Well, Doris Burke has always been my inspiration.
Yes.
Ever since I've been young, I've always been following Doris Burke. I've always told my parents, I want to be Doris Burke. Oh. So I think for her, it's a great accomplishment. But Doris Burke has worked for this.
Oh, yes.
She has showed that she can run with anybody in this business, and she knows what she's talking about. So I think for Doris Burke, this is a huge accomplishment, because she is a Hall of Famer in both the WNBA and the NBA. So I think for her, congratulations, enjoy this, because she's most certainly deserved it. Probably should have happened before, but it just really does show that women can do this. And for her, she is the example. She's the she's the standard. So I think that if Doris Burke can do it, we can do it.
Yes.
We'll see you there.
See you there one day. No, yeah, I think that's something she's put in her time, and she's done the hard work that she needs to do, and she proved that women can play the game too. Women can be a part of it. So it's truly inspiring. And like you said, like, if she can do it, we can do it. So
definitely. And then she overcame so much. Of course, she contracted COVID earlier this year. So I think with Doris Burke, she's a fighter.
Oh, yes.
And like I said, she's going to tell it all
as
far as basketball. I've never heard a broadcaster that's going to just break down the game but make you feel like you know exactly what she's talking about as well as she does. So she's an incredible talent, and congrats to Doris Burke.
Yes, congrats. And now going into some recent talk, Kevin Garnett did an interview on a podcast with Complex and had some words about LeBron James. So do you want to get into that, Kennedy?
I think the LeBron topic is a very sensitive topic. A lot of people believe that there's a LeBron bias, and I do believe that there is one.
I think so too.
I think that the words that Kevin Garnett said were taken out of proportion because, of course, we saw Paul Pierce also had things to say about LeBron and saying that he said that LeBron is not top 5 in his opinion, and he's also said that he feels like modern NBA players are scared of LeBron. So I think with Kevin Garnett, what he's essentially saying is that when LeBron lost that conference finals to the Celtics in 2010, and LeBron, of course, made the decision after that to go to Miami, it really showed that LeBron was broken as a player, and he was fed up with not being in the conversation of a championship, not being in the conversation of a finals contender. So I think for what Kevin Garnett was saying was more so on the lines of LeBron was broken as a player because he lost his chance at the finals with his hometown team. So I think headlines are deceiving.
Oh, yes. And, you know, he's in the moment in a podcast. I think he's also popping off, you know, just like for no reason, but whatever. You know, the point was true, I think. You know, you're a player that keeps losing to the same team with the same players. That's frustrating. You don't want that. You know, you keep losing in the end at the finals. So I get it. LeBron broke. I mean, Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, they were successful in getting into his head. It's because he left. And I definitely agree with the fact that, you know, they did break him as a player, but it ended up making him make the best move of his career, was going to Miami. So
definitely. And I think when you really research the topics, and especially with Paul Pierce saying that he doesn't consider LeBron top 5, that was coming after Paul Pierce had watched the Last Dance documentary on Michael Jordan. So he was pretty much saying, I don't think that LeBron has built a dynasty like someone like Michael Jordan or Tim Duncan or Dirk Nowitzki or Steve Nash or Kobe Bryant, or we can go on and on and on. But I think the point of the matter is that LeBron hasn't, because he's had to switch teams to win championships.
Yes.
So I think what we have to take into consideration is that it's not a knock on LeBron. We're not LeBron haters. No. Paul Pierce doesn't hate LeBron, but I think it's just, it exposes something that a lot of people don't want to talk about.
Yeah, and I agree. And I like to see, you know, like the star players aren't perfect. So I like to see other people chiming in, you know, bringing up a discussion, whether you agree or disagree, it's nice to hear. And, you know, there's always the argument that a lot of people bring up that LeBron wouldn't last in a Michael Jordan era of basketball. So it brings up a whole argument. It makes it a little exciting, I think.
Definitely. And I think mentioning that people have always said LeBron wouldn't last. And I think it's because, one, if the Lakers are writing a letter to the NBA saying that you're complaining about foul calls, it shows that the level of
that wasn't happening. Yeah.
It's different because, I mean, looking back at the Michael Jordan era, when you're playing the Isaiah Thomas Pistons, you're getting beat up.
Oh, yeah. You're getting knocked. Dennis Rodman, you're getting knocked all around.
Definitely. So I think it really shows it's like you can't guarantee your wins on foul calls. You can't guarantee your wins based on who you're playing with. So I think, you know, if we look back at LeBron when he first came to the Cavs, if we started to name names like Anderson Varejao or Mike Bibby or even players like Delonte West, we wouldn't know those names.
No.
But if you go to Miami and you start naming Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade and
Shane Battier.
There you go. I think it shows you that LeBron had to team up with names in order to get somewhere. So he didn't build that dynasty within the team that he was implanted into. Like
he had to go somewhere where the team was already being built, and he just helped it continue.
Definitely. So. And I mean, it shows you because when you are part of a big three, it's pretty much just picking who's the best and who is the most valuable. And of course, in 2012, it was him.
Yes.
But it just shows you that for LeBron, there's a bias because a lot of people will argue he's one of the greats, and I definitely do think he's top 3 greats for sure. But with LeBron, it's just a deeper concept of just knowing the move. And
knowing where he stands amongst it all.
Yes.
Type of thing.
Definitely. And we go back to even when he left Cleveland the first time and people were burning the jerseys.
Yeah, I remember that.
We just have to really take into account who LeBron is. Coming from Akron, Ohio, the only other player that was playing from Akron in the NBA was Nate the Great. And of course, that was back when Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain were playing. So that was a long time ago. So for LeBron to come out of Akron and just bring something to Cleveland, because Cleveland was, I believe, the 8th seed before LeBron came in 2003. So for him to bring that team to the 5th seed in his first appearance in the NBA, and just to bring his energy, he's averaging 30 points in his high school season coming into the NBA. So he's going to bring something to Cleveland. So I think the biggest thing that hurt Cleveland then and still kind of hurts LeBron's career now is that you were put in a unique position to give back to your home state and to bring something to them, even if it's not a championship, but to compete for them and with them, and you left that. And he's continuing to leave that. So I think it's a big thing that people don't want to talk about.
Yeah. And I think that's, he tried to do that when he went back. He wanted to bring a title. And I just, like, I don't know that it ever worked out for him in the way he wanted it to. Definitely. I don't think he ever got, I think he wanted what he had in Miami to go to the Cavaliers, when he brought Dwayne Wade in, and it just was never going to be that.
And I think the truth about him going to the Cavs, too, is we have to realize Kyrie Irving came in 2011. So when Kyrie Irving came in, he really became the franchise of the Cavs. It was no longer LeBron talk. Nope. They didn't care.
Forget LeBron. I don't know him.
We don't know him. So it was Kyrie Irving. So for him, LeBron I feel like he kind of felt a sense of, well, this is my state. This is my city. So I need to come back and I need to do something. And of course, playing with a player like Kyrie, and it did lead them to a championship, he knew that he was in a position to win. So why not come back? But I think for LeBron, it's definitely taking that from Kyrie and saying, it's not going to be you. That's the face of my state. It's going to be me.
Yeah, and I mean, he got the championship, but it's like, I think essentially overall he wanted like a lasting thing, but it's like, you got the championship. There was nothing it's really special. I don't know. Like, to me, it wasn't anything that, it doesn't remind me of a big three in Miami. It doesn't remind me of what he's doing at the Lakers now. Like, it was just, he went back and won a championship.
Exactly, and I think really what we saw is that LeBron pretty much went back to 2014 with the Cavs, because if you look at their roster, it was not stacked.
I saw those memes with J.R. Smith, like...
Yes, exactly. We saw even like the tensions between the Cavaliers. It just really showed you that LeBron is not playing with the type of caliber players that he's playing with now or was playing with in Miami. So he really was pretty much in a deficit. So if he could do that in 2016, 2015, 2017, he could have done that in 2004. And if he had stayed in the position that he is, because we know that, of course, NBA teams have their ups and downs, but no team is just going to be completely terrible unless you're the Bobcats or the Hornets now. No team is just going to be completely terrible. People are going to build pieces and people are going to move around in the NBA. So it could have happened for LeBron for many years if he had just stayed in Cleveland, but he left. I agree, it worked out for him.
He cracked under the pressure. Going back to what Kevin Garnett said, they broke him.
Did Kevin Garnett lie? I don't think that he did.
Comment below what you think about that one. Well, thank you so much for joining us this week. This has been a lot of fun talking NBA Finals, and we'll see you next week.